All right, yeah. I'm in the building. One of my special guests today, man. Somebody I've been doing for a minute, been rocking with, you know what I'm saying? One of my conscious brothers, you know what I'm talking about, who be dropping supreme science and supreme mathematics on us, you know what I'm saying? And usually I be on my street topic, you know what I'm saying, my urban culture type of thing, you know what I'm saying? But today I'm gonna spin the block on the other side of the map, man. But enough of that. Let them know, man, who you is and who where you from, man.
Peace, God's peace to the earth, peace to all positive people throughout the universe. I come in the name of Jasim, God Allah, one of the 5% on this poor part of the planet Earth, also known as J Money, when I hit that stage and grab a microphone.
Okay,
Coming straight
okay.
out of the north side of Omaha, Nebraska, aka the Wild Kingdom.
Okay. Omaha, Nebraska in the building once again. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers be sleep on Omaha, but Omaha got a lot going on there, man. Sports players, actors, rappers, you know what I'm saying? Some concert brothers moving. It's a lot of history down there from Malcolm X being down there, as well as a lot of other brothers, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I want to talk on right now, you greeted me, you know what I'm saying, with the gods on earth type of greeting, you know what I'm saying? Let me know though, who and you a part of the 5%ers, right?
What's commonly known to the public as the 5% is proper name is Nation of Gods and Earth.
Okay. The proper name is the Nation of Gods and Earth. All right.
Now,
Now,
when it started, it was a lost 5%.
okay, okay, right. Now break this down. What is the Nation of Gods and Earth?
It's a culture. Nation of Gods and Earth is a culture, God, in which we teach the true existence of God. To explain its manifestation, it was started. Day one is considered October 10th, 1964. Uh, the brother who founded it went by the name of Allah. He was born under the honorable name of Clarence Smith. Now, he taught us to get out of a habit of calling our the names that we were born with slave names, even though we know the root of where these last names came from. Uh, we had to look at it like this. Our parents gave us what they had, and they didn't know.
Right.
And so you can't fault them for not knowing, especially when they wasn't exposed to it. So they gave us what they have. So we look at those names as honorable names. So he was born under the honorable name of Clarence Smith in Danville, Virginia, February 26, 1922. The guy moved to Harlem as a youth, and he had a fruit stand. He was entrepreneurial. Uh, Ended up living most of his life in Harlem. Went on to enlist in the army. Went to the army. Was served in the Korean War. When he came back from the army, his wife Dora was a part of the Nation of Islam, and so with her being part of the nation, kind of that's what led him into it. When he got in there, he started to move up through the ranks and became a student minister. The student ministers class in the NOI is where you get what we refer to as the lessons, what's called the supreme wisdom. Uh, his study of those lessons, and in particular, a lesson we have, which is number 16 in our 1 through 40, who are the 5% on this poor part of the planet Earth. Says they are the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10%, for they are all wise and know who the true and living God is, and teach that the true and living God is the original black man of Asia, supreme being. From this lesson, and from another lesson that we have, which is number 8 in our 1 through 40, where I won't go into it, but at the end of the lesson it said, all the above is caused by the Son of Man. He drew up from these lessons that the black man is God, as is stated in the lessons. Not just Master Fard Muhammad is God, but the black man is God. And like that in the FOI classes.
Well, ask me this.
Uh
Why did Clarence X or Father Allah leave the Nation of Islam?
and that's what I was just getting ready to go into. He left, he didn't well, here's how it happened. The FOI captain walked in to uh, a meeting they was having where he was teaching, and he was teaching from that eighth degree where he was drawing up the understanding behind all of the above is caused by the Son of Man. FOI captain heard him teaching like that and dismissed the class. And after he dismissed the class, they said he spoke with Clarence and told him that he couldn't teach like that there. And they say that's the reason. They say he was like put on suspension. Then there's different stories when you got, because you have a lot of people running around trying to mix, dilute, and tamper with the history. You know, you have some who were still in the nation that say he was kicked out for gambling, uh, smoking, and there was another one that said he was put out for violating what they call restrictive law because he put hands on his wife. His wife, who still alive to this day, refuted those claims. She said that he never laid a hand on her. So
Right.
the consensus is because the way he was teaching, which was different from the way the nation was teaching it, you know, he had to leave. How
So
I see it
so
is,
so he was basically what he was teaching was what that the black man, each individual black man is God through the lessons, and the Elijah Muhammad didn't want him to teach that. That was against the rules, is what you're saying?
well, yes and no. What he was teaching was, yeah, that each individual black man holds attributes of God. And then if you want to see what they refer to as the one true God, everybody must come together. And that's how you see the one Allah. Uh, as it was revealed later, Elijah once said that he had no this prior to his death that he had no problem with what the brothers in the streets was doing because they was doing what he always told them to do, which was study the lesson.
Right.
But within the nation, no, he couldn't teach like that. So they say that they dismissed him from the first. They said that he got on suspension, and they took that Elijah took back the name that he gave him, which was Abdullah, which translated from Arabic, Abdullah is servant of Allah. But nobody showed and proved that to be true either. So once he left, there were some brothers that left with him, um, and he went into the streets and started teaching. Now, what I also understood from studying the histories prior to him, there was other brothers that had got kicked out of the nation, and for various different reasons, and so they already was in the street teaching brothers the lessons and teaching them martial arts. This is where you get when you hear about the Harlem Six,
Right.
the history of what they call the Blood Brothers.
Right.
These were some brothers that was trained by these brothers that got kicked out the nation. And you know, they talked about how they used to kick cops off of horses and all this other stuff. So,
Okay, well, look,
but
to rewind the track real quick and get a clarity on something, you know what I'm saying, that I always thought about, right?
okay,
Father Allah was teaching that the black man was God. You know what I'm saying? This is before the 5%ers came out or the Nation of God of the Earth. Father Allah was a part of the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam teaching through Elijah Muhammad is that the black man is God. So, you know, it's kind of iffy right there to say he would kick him out for teaching that unless he was teaching in a different shape, form, or fashion than Elijah Muhammad was talking about. But the kicker to me with all of this is, isn't the guy who started or influenced the Nation of Islam a white guy. Is fraud or for Farad Muhammad. He's a white guy. So I'm like, explain that from your point of view to me. You know what I'm saying? Or is he a white guy?
Okay, how I see this is uh there was some confusion created back in the past around Master Fard Muhammad. And here's my understanding is that he is a half original. And I can draw that up just from the history that you get about his life from the Nation of Islam. Because the way the story goes is that his father, who was a dark skinned original man, was part of the council of elders in Mecca that finally discovered around the late 1800s where we had been taken or our ancestors had been taken to. And he was charged with this mission to come over here to wake up the black man after physical slavery had ended. Um, he knew as a dark skinned original man, knowing the condition and the mind state of the people that was over here in the United States, that he could not accomplish that mission or be successful because his people was conditioned in a way that they wouldn't even listen to him. So his idea was, to make a long story short, go find this white woman in the mountains, clean her up, impregnate her, and create this half original that could pass for white and send him to do the mission. Uh, where the white guy comes into play at, there's a lot of argument over Master Fard.
You ever see the newspaper
God,
articles with him compared to the other dude that they arrested, say was a con artist or a dope dealer or something, you know, something to that effect, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Wallace Dodd Ford was his name. He had
Right,
did time in a prison out in California.
right.
Yeah, they got that guy, and this was actually the FBI was behind that. They set him up in those pictures and have him sitting there with the Quran open and holding up different stuff, and like he's teaching the agents about what they're doing. And then yeah, they tried to pass him off as Master Fard because Master Fard at by that point he had he had bounced, he disappeared. They didn't know where he was at. And so they tried to run that propaganda, but the Nation of Islam at that time, they showed and proved that, you know, that dude's name was Wallace Dodd Ford and he was not the same person. And so the FBI ended up retracting that. Um, but was Ford a white man? No, he was. I like I said from the story, he was half original. Uh,
Say from the story, he's a half original.
yeah, how
Yeah,
true that.
we have many stories, right?
Mhm.
What when was the slave trade? The slave trade happened with the 1800s, like around that time, late 1800s, something like that.
The slave trade. Well, if we, I mean, we actually got to go back to 1492.
14. I'm all confused. I
You know
apologize.
when? Okay, so that was when that was that period. If you remember, the Moors was running Europe from 711 AD to 1492 when they got ran out. And then King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella in Spain, because remember, the last stronghold the Moors had was in Spain. When they got finally pushed out of there, that's when King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella funded Columbus's so-called exploration.
Now, okay,
What?
now. My point of asking you that was this, right? Now, you see all
Mhm.
that you just explained to me, right? We can go
Right.
find documents, records, dead relatives, DNA to lead back. I don't know how many eon years ago to trace certain people with places and things and bring up
Mhm.
artifacts to come to a conclusion of a fact, right?
Indeed.
Now, when we talk about people like Farad Muhammad, they say it's a story. Oh, it's a factual thing. He was from this half person that was come from this council of 24 people who we don't know from some magical land back in the middle of Iraq somewhere. But we have no records, no documents. We can't trace no DNA, no bones. But we're saying this is factual though. it's like a Bible story. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We can make all these extraordinary claims, but don't have any extraordinary evidence. So you know what I'm saying? So it leads me back to really the same question. You know what I'm saying? Like who really is this guy? You know what I mean? But I get the story, I get the lesson, I get the teaching, you know what I mean?
God, the way I see that is, and I was gonna say that earlier when I was going in that explanation was like, and nobody has shown and proved, as far as I've ever seen, how factual that story is. It is just a story.
Right.
See, we gotta take the like so, so here let me give you my perspective on this just historically. I see all these manifestations, God, as this happened the way it was supposed to.
Right.
Whoever Master Fard was, the knowledge reached us here, and Elijah carried that knowledge on. But they felt the need to keep it in a religious format. I can understand from the study and the history them starting it, bringing that knowledge, but putting it in a religious format at the time that it came,
Right.
because our people was only what they came in 1930. Our people was only barely 100 years out of physical slavery at that time. So we didn't, they didn't know nothing but the BS religion they had been force fed. So